The crystal champagne flute trembled slightly in my hand as Regina's perfectly manicured fingers slid the thick document across the mahogany table. Her crimson lips curved into what might have looked like a smile to others, but I recognized the predatory gleam in her eyes. "Darling Cecilia," she practically purred, "I'm sure you understand why this is necessary. We must protect the family's interests. I'm Cecilia Rose, a preschool teacher who apparently needed to be reminded of her place at her own engagement party." The string quartet in the corner hadn't even finished their first set, and already Regina was making her move. "A prenuptial agreement?" I kept my voice steady, though my chest tightened. "Right now, in front of everyone?" The other guests at our table, Mark's sister Kendra, his uncle Lionel, and cousin Aaron, watched with barely concealed amusement. Mark, my fiancé, shifted uncomfortably beside me, but remained silent. Always silent. "Well, we're all family here," Regina said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Or we will be, assuming everything goes as planned." She slid an expensive pen toward me. "Unless there's some reason you object?" My grandmother Ella's voice echoed in my memory. "Power isn't about who has the loudest voice, sweet pea. It's about knowing when to use your silence." I picked up the pen. "Of course not, Regina. I'd be happy to sign." Kendra's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "Just like that? Without even reading it?" "I trust you all completely." I smiled, signing my name with a flourish. After all, what could I possibly have that needs protecting? Regina's triumph was palpable as she collected the document. "That's exactly what I thought, dear. More champagne?" The evening continued like a carefully choreographed dance of microaggressions. Kendra's pointed comments about how brave it was for a preschool teacher to marry into their circle. Aaron's condescending explanation of his startup's latest funding round, as if I wouldn't understand basic business concepts. Lionel's loud reminiscing about their family's generations of country club membership. I excused myself to powder my nose, needing a moment alone. In the elegant bathroom, I studied my reflection, the designer dress I'd bought with my own money, the understated jewellery that cost more than their monthly country club dues. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra, my closest friend. "How's the Shark Tank?" "They just made me sign a prenup in front of everyone," I typed back. "Those entitled assholes want me to come create a scene. I've got some choice words saved up." I smiled, remembering why I loved her. "No need. Everything's going according to plan." When I returned to the party, Regina was holding court, regaling her friends with stories about their recent family vacation to their ancestral home in the Hamptons. The same home my grandmother's trust had purchased 15 years ago. Mark caught my arm as I sat down. "I'm sorry about my mother," he whispered. "I didn't know she was planning this." I patted his hand. "It's fine, really." And it was, just not in the way he thought. Regina clinked her glass, calling for attention. "A toast to Mark and his charming little bride-to-be. May she always know how fortunate she is to join our family." The guests raised their glasses. I lifted mine too, watching the champagne sparkle under the crystal chandelier, the same chandelier my trust fund paid for, along with this entire venue rental. My grandmother's last words to me played through my mind. "Remember, Cecilia, money is like water. It can nurture growth or erode foundations. Use it wisely." I'd spent years watching this family from the shadows, letting them believe I was just the simple teacher who caught their precious son's eye. I'd smiled through their condescension, nodded at their backhanded compliments, and kept my grandmother's lessons close to my heart. Regina caught my eye across the table and raised her glass with that same predatory smile. I smiled back, thinking of the trust fund documents sitting in my safe at home, the ones that gave me complete control over the very lifestyle they used to look down on me. "To family," I said softly, taking a sip of champagne. They had no idea that their entire world balanced on my signature, or that their precious prenup was worth less than the paper it was printed on. They'd never bothered to ask why my grandmother's lawyer, Sylvia, managed their family trust. They were too busy showing off their wealth to question where it really came from. I set down my glass, already mentally drafting an email to Sylvia about reviewing certain financial arrangements. After all, Regina was right about one thing. We needed to protect the family's interests. My family's interests. 3 days after the engagement party, I sat in Sylvia's office, surrounded by stacks of financial documents. The leather chair creaked as I leaned forward to examine another spreadsheet. "So they've been drawing from the trust for all of this?" I asked, tapping a perfectly manicured nail against a list of expenses. Sylvia adjusted her glasses. "Everything. The country club memberships, the summer homes, even Aaron's startup capital." She pulled out another folder. "Regina's been particularly liberal with the discretionary spending." "Show me." The numbers told a story of breathtaking entitlement. Monthly allowances, credit card payments, property maintenance fees, all funneled through my grandmother's trust fund. My trust fund now. "Does Regina know I'm here today?" "She thinks I'm just reviewing the prenup terms." Sylvia's lips twitched. She was quite proud of that document. I couldn't help but laugh. "I bet she was. Did you tell her it's essentially worthless since I'm the one with the assets? I thought I'd leave that particular revelation for you." My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Mum wants to know if you're free for lunch tomorrow. She's planning the wedding shower." I typed back a quick "can't wait" before turning back to Sylvia. "What's the protocol for adjusting disbursements? As the trust holder, you have full discretion." She pulled up a document on her computer. "Your grandmother was very clear about that. Would you like to make some changes?" "Let's start with the country club membership." I smiled, remembering Lionel's boasting. "I think it's time for a review of their payment status." Sylvia's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Done. Anything else?" "Regina's charitable foundation, the one she uses to throw all those galas. How much does the trust contribute?" "Approximately 80% of its operating budget. Let's reduce that to 20%. Gradually, over the next few weeks." I paused. "And Aaron's startup funding. The next instalment is due next week, 300,000. Delay it. Site compliance review or something suitably bureaucratic." Sylvia made the notes, then looked at me over her glasses. "You know this will cause quite a stir." "That's the idea." I stood up, smoothing my skirt. "They wanted to protect their family's interests. I'm just helping them learn to live within their means." As if on cue, my phone rang. Kendra's name flashed on the screen. "Cecilia?" Her voice was sharp with panic. "Something's wrong with our club membership. They're saying it's been flagged for non-payment. That's impossible. We've been members for generations." I kept my voice carefully concerned. "Oh no, that sounds terrible. Have you talked to your mother?" "She's trying to reach the family accountant, but no one's returning her calls. This is so embarrassing. I was supposed to host the Junior League luncheon next week. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding," I soothed, watching Sylvia try to hide her smile. "These things usually work themselves out." After hanging up, I gathered my purse. "Keep me updated on any developments, Sylvia, and please make sure all communications about payment issues go through proper channels. We wouldn't want anyone thinking this is personal." "Of course." She stood to walk me out. "Your grandmother would be proud, you know. She always said you had a steel spine under that sweet smile." In the elevator, I checked my calendar. Dinner with Mark's family was scheduled for Friday night. By then, the country club situation would be common knowledge, and the foundation's funding issues would be starting to show. My phone buzzed again, Cassandra this time. "Lunch, I need details about the engagement party drama." We met at our usual cafe, away from any of Regina's social circles. Cassandra nearly spilled her coffee when I described the prenup ambush. "And you just signed it, just like that?" "What else could I do? Make a scene?" I stirred my tea. "Besides, it's more fun this way." "You're terrifying sometimes, you know that?" She grinned. "So, what's the plan now?" "Nothing dramatic, just some minor financial adjustments. Did you know Regina's been using my trust fund to finance her social climbing for years? No way. Way. And now, I took a sip of tea. Now it's time for some lifestyle changes. You're going to destroy them, aren't you? Cassandra's eyes sparkled. Quietly, legally and completely. I prefer to think of it as a lesson in humility. My phone buzzed again, another panic text from Kendra. They wanted to protect their wealth from the gold-digging preschool teacher. I'm just showing them what real wealth looks like. Cassandra raised her coffee cup. To Karma. I clinked my teacup against hers. To Karma indeed. Walking back to my car, I got one more text, from Regina. Family dinner Friday. Wear something appropriate. We need to discuss wedding details. I smiled, typing back, looking forward to it. And I was. I really, really was. Regina's annual charity gala was supposed to be her crowning achievement of the social season. Instead, I watched her face turn an interesting shade of red as she screamed into her phone. What do you mean the caterer's cancelled? This is unacceptable. She paced the marble floors of her kitchen. I don't care about payment processing issues. This event is in 3 days. I sat at the breakfast bar pretending to review wedding magazines while Mark made coffee. The morning sun streamed through the windows, highlighting the strain on Regina's face. Mother, Mark started, maybe we should postpone. Absolutely not, Regina slammed her phone down. This gala has been our family's tradition for 20 years. We can't let a few temporary setbacks ruin everything. The housekeeper, Maria, chose that moment to enter. Mrs. Regina, I need to speak with you. Not now, Maria. I'm dealing with a crisis. Yes, now. Maria's voice was firm. I haven't received my salary for the past 6 weeks. I have bills to pay. Regina froze. That's impossible. The payments are automatic. Were automatic, Maria corrected. I'm sorry, but I can't continue working without pay. I'm giving my notice. As Maria left, I flipped another page of my magazine. That's terrible, Regina. Good help is so hard to find these days. Before Regina could respond, Aaron burst through the front door. Aunt Regina, my business accounts are frozen. The bank says there's some problem with the trust fund transfer. I watched the chaos unfold over my coffee cup. Regina trying to reach Sylvia. Aaron pacing and ranting about investor meetings. Mark standing helplessly in the middle of it all. This is ridiculous, Kendra announced, strutting in with shopping bags. First the country club, now this? What's happening to our family? Nothing is happening, Regina snapped. Everything will be sorted out soon. Cecilia, dear, perhaps you should go home. This is family business. I gathered my things, kissing Mark's cheek. Of course. Call me later. He nodded, distracted by Aaron's increasingly loud complaints about missed opportunities and reputation damage. Later that week, I arrived for the family brunch Regina insisted on having despite everything. The tension was delicious. Kendra wore last season's dress. Aaron kept checking his phone for banking updates. Regina's smile looked more like a grimace. More mimosa? I offered sweetly. I can't believe this, Kendra muttered. Do you know I had to cancel my spa membership? The card was declined. How dreadful, I sympathised. Have you considered a more budget-friendly option? She looked at me like I'd suggested she roll in dirt. Lionel arrived late, stumbling slightly. The smell of scotch followed him into the dining room. They wouldn't let me in, he announced to the table. 20 years of membership, and they wouldn't let me through the club gates. Regina tried to shush him. Lionel, please, don't please me, Regina. I was humiliated. Had to turn around right in front of the Andersons. He collapsed into a chair. What's happening to us? Mark finally spoke up. Mother, maybe we should look into what's causing all this. Not now, Mark, Regina cut him off. Everything is under control. I watched Mark deflate, retreating into silence again. My phone buzzed with a text from Sylvia. Foundation audit report ready. Significant irregularities found. Oh dear, I said, checking my phone. Regina, I just heard the caterers for the gala found another event. Something about payment concerns? The colour drained from Regina's face. That's impossible. I just spoke with them yesterday. Maybe I could help, I offered. I'm good with budgets, working at the preschool and all. We don't need your help, Kendra snapped. This is just a temporary administrative issue. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Regina's event planner cancelling. I watched Regina's face as her own phone lit up with the news. She stood abruptly. I need to make some calls. As she left, Lionel poured himself another drink. Remember when we were untouchable? He slurred. Now look at us. Can't even get into our own club. I excused myself to the powder room, passing Regina in the hallway as she whispered furiously into her phone. What do you mean insufficient funds? Check again. Back at the table, Aaron was explaining his startup's latest pivot. We just need to weather this small cash flow issue. Once the next round of funding comes through. If it comes through, Kendra muttered. My phone lit up with a message from Regina. Seems you weren't as harmless as we thought. I smiled, typing back, I'm not sure what you mean. The response came quickly. Family meeting tomorrow, 7 p.m. Be there. I showed the text to Mark. Should I be worried? He squeezed my hand. It's probably nothing, just mother being mother. But we both knew better. The facade was cracking, and tomorrow night it would shatter completely. I couldn't wait. The memory hit me as I drove to work that morning. I was 16, sitting in my grandmother's study, watching her review investment portfolios. Remember, sweet pea, she'd said, money isn't just numbers on a page. It's power, and power talks loudest when it says nothing at all. Now, hours before the family meeting, I sat cross-legged on the floor of my preschool classroom during nap time, sharing lunch with Cassandra. You really think they've figured it out? She whispered, careful not to wake the sleeping children. Regina suspects something. I picked at my salad. She's been asking Sylvia questions about the trust's management structure. Are you scared? Little Sophie stirred in her sleep nearby, clutching her teddy bear. I adjusted her blanket before answering. No, just wondering if I'm becoming exactly what they accused me of being. Don't you dare! Cassandra pointed her fork at me. They humiliated you at your own engagement party. They've been living off your grandmother's money while treating you like dirt. They deserve everything coming to them. My phone buzzed. Another text from Regina. Bring any relevant financial documents to tonight's meeting. Oh, I'll bring documents all right, I muttered. Cassandra grinned. Want me to wait outside as backup? This isn't going to be that kind of confrontation. I showed her the trust fund statement on my phone. See this number? That's how much they've spent just on vacation properties in the last 5 years. Her eyes widened. Holy shit! Language, I warned, glancing at the sleeping children. But yeah, and now they're about to learn where all that money really came from. After work, I went home to change. The blue dress I chose was expensive but understated. Exactly the kind of thing Regina would overlook as cheap teacher clothes. I added my grandmother's pearl necklace, worth more than Regina's car. As I gathered the documents, my hands trembled slightly. Another memory surfaced. My grandmother teaching me about investments when I was 19. Never let them see you sweat, sweet pea, she'd said. The minute they smell fear, they'll try to take everything. My phone rang. Mark. Hey, are you on your way? Just leaving? Everything okay? Mother's agitated. Maybe we should postpone. I closed my eyes, counting to 3. Mark, when are you going to stop letting her run everything? It's not that simple. It is that simple. I'll see you soon. I hung up, remembering all the times he'd stayed silent while his family belittled me, all the times he'd promised to stand up to them next time. Cassandra texted, Go get 'em, Tiger. Show those trust fund babies what real money looks like. The drive to Regina's house gave me time to centre myself. I thought about my kids at the preschool, how they learned about consequences. How sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone face the results of their actions. Regina's house was lit up like a Christmas tree, every window blazing. I parked between Kendra's luxury SUV and Aaron's sports car, both financed by my trust fund, both about to be repossessed. Mark met me at the door. "They're in the study," he whispered. "Mother's got Sylvia on speakerphone." I could hear Regina's voice as we approached. "Demand a full audit of all trust activities." "Of course," Sylvia replied smoothly. "I'll have everything ready when Cecilia arrives." What does she have to do with this? I chose that moment to enter. Everything, actually. The room fell silent. Regina sat behind the massive desk, Kendra perched on the arm of a leather chair, Aaron pacing by the window. Lionel nursed what looked like scotch in the corner. "Ah, the guest of honour," Regina's voice dripped sarcasm. "Care to explain why you've been accessing private family financial records?" I set my folder on the desk. "They're not private to me, they're mine." "Yours?" Kendra laughed. "What are you talking about? The trust fund you've all been living off of?" I opened the folder. "It belonged to my grandmother. Now it belongs to me." The silence that followed was deafening. Mark stepped forward. "What?" "Remember that prenup you made me sign?" I smiled at Regina. "The one protecting the family's assets. Turns out there wasn't much to protect. Not from your side, anyway." Aaron stopped pacing. "That's impossible. Our family has been borrowing from my grandmother's trust fund for 15 years. I laid out the documents. Every vacation home, every country club membership, every start-up investment. All of it came from us." Regina's face had gone pale. "You're lying." "Sylvia," I called to the speakerphone, "would you like to confirm?" "Everything Miss Rose is saying is correct." Sylvia's voice was professional as ever. "She has full control of the trust as of her grandmother's passing 3 months ago." Mark sank into a chair. "How long have you known?" I met his eyes, feeling nothing but tired disappointment. "Longer than you've ever defended me." The room erupted in chaos, but I stayed calm, remembering my grandmother's final lesson. The true test of wealth isn't how much you have, sweet pea. It's how you use it to show people who they really are. "You manipulative little snake!" Kendra was the first to recover, launching herself from her perch. "You've been playing us this whole time." "Playing you?" I kept my voice level. "Like you played me at the engagement party." That was different," Regina snapped, shuffling through the documents I'd laid out. "We were protecting our family." "From what?" I asked. "The gold-digging preschool teacher? Turns out I'm the one who's been protecting your lifestyle all along." Aaron slammed his hand on the desk. "This is bullshit. I have investors waiting." "Your investors," I cut in, "were always just my trust fund, filtered through shell companies. Sylvia can confirm that too." "It's true," Sylvia's voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Aaron's startup has been entirely funded through the Rose Trust." Mark hadn't moved from his chair. "Why didn't you tell me?" "When should I have told you, Mark? When your sister was mocking my career? When your mother was humiliating me in front of everyone? Or maybe during one of the many times you sat there silently while they tore me down?" Lionel stumbled forward, drink in hand. "This is ridiculous. I've been a member of that country club for decades. Thanks to my grandmother's money, I finished for him. And now thanks to mine. Or rather, not anymore." Regina stood slowly, her composure cracking. "You've been deliberately sabotaging us." "I prefer to think of it as financial literacy education." I picked up one of the documents. "For instance, did you know you've spent more on spa treatments this year than I make in salary? My salary, which you love to ridicule." "You can't do this to us," Kendra's voice shook. "We're supposed to be family." "Family?" I laughed. "You made it very clear I wasn't family. I was just the gold digger you needed to protect yourselves from." Aaron paced faster. "I'll sue. We'll all sue." "With what money?" I asked quietly. "And on what grounds? Everything I've done is perfectly legal. Right, Sylvia?" Ms. Rose has acted within her legal rights as trustee, Sylvia confirmed. All documentation is in order. Mark finally stood. Mother, did you know about the trust? Regina's face flushed. Of course not. I would never have allowed... You would never have allowed what? I interrupted. Never have allowed your son to marry someone wealthier than you? Never have allowed your carefully constructed image to be exposed as a lie? I built this family's reputation... No, I corrected her. My grandmother built it. You just took credit. Kendra collapsed onto the sofa, mascara streaming down her face. What are we supposed to do now? Learn to live within your actual means, I suggested. Get jobs, pay your own bills. You know, like regular people do. This is all your fault, Regina hissed at Mark. If you hadn't brought her into our lives... Stop! Mark's voice was stronger than I'd ever heard it. Just stop, Mother. You did this, all of it. The room fell silent. Even Lionel stopped drinking to stare. If you hadn't been so obsessed with status, Mark continued, if you hadn't treated Cecilia like she was beneath us, God, do you even hear yourself? We've been living off her money while acting superior to her. Mark, I said softly, it's not just about the money. I know. He turned to me and I saw real pain in his eyes. It's about everything. Every snide comment, every condescending look. Every time I should have spoken up and didn't. Regina sank back into her chair. So this is your revenge? Destroying everything we have? No, Regina, this is consequences. I gathered my documents. The trust will continue to provide basic living expenses for 3 months. After that, you're on your own. You can't, Aaron started. I can. I am. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Regina, the charity gala venue called. They're still waiting for the deposit. Should I tell them you won't be needing it anymore? The silence that followed me out was broken only by Kendra's quiet sobs and the clink of Lionel's glass. Mark followed me to my car. Cecilia, wait. I turned to face him. Why? So you can apologise again? Promise to do better next time? I don't know what to say. That's the problem, Mark. You never do. I opened my car door. You know what's funny? If your mother hadn't insisted on that prenup, I might have kept quiet, kept supporting everyone, but she just had to make sure everyone knew their place. What happens now? I looked up at the house, at the lights still blazing in every window. Now they learn what it's like to actually earn their place in the world. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. How'd it go? I smiled, thinking of Regina's face when she realised who really held the power all along. Like my grandmother always said, money talks loudest when it says nothing at all. The aftermath came in waves. First, Mark showed up at my apartment the next morning, looking like he hadn't slept. Can we talk? He stood in my doorway holding a coffee cup that had gone cold. I let him in, watching as he paced my living room. The same living room where Regina had once commented on my quaint decorating choices. Mother's refusing to apologise, he started. She says she was only doing what was best for the family. Shocking. I curled up in my favourite armchair. And what do you think? I think, he stopped pacing, I think I've been a coward. I let them treat you terribly because I was afraid of losing the only world I knew. And now I might lose both. My phone buzzed, Sylvia sending confirmation that she'd started the process of withdrawing family allowances. I silenced it. You know what hurts the most, Mark? Not the prenup, not the insults. It's that you knew who I was all along, a teacher who loves her job, who lives simply despite having means. And you let them make me feel small for it. He sank onto my couch. I didn't know about the trust fund. That's not the point. I stood up, needing to move. You should have defended me either way. Before he could respond, my phone rang. It was Aaron. You've ruined everything, he shouted before I could speak. My investors are pulling out. They're saying my business model isn't viable without guaranteed funding. Imagine that, I replied calmly, having to prove your business can actually make money. I'll expose you, he threatened. Tell everyone what you did. Tell them what? That you've been living off my trust fund? That your startup was funded by the preschool teacher you loved to mock? Go ahead. I hung up, turning back to Mark. That's your family's response to consequences, threats and tantrums. They're scared, he said quietly. They're entitled, I corrected. There's a difference. My doorbell rang again. This time it was Cassandra, carrying bagels and coffee. She stopped short when she saw Mark. Oh, should I come back later? No, stay. I needed her grounding presence. Mark was just leaving. He stood slowly. What about us? What about us? I echoed. You still haven't answered my question from last night. How long have you let them treat me this way? How long have you chosen their comfort over my dignity? Cassandra busied herself in the kitchen, but I knew she was listening. I thought, Mark struggled, I thought if I just kept the peace, eventually they'd see how amazing you are. No, I said softly. You thought if you kept the peace, you wouldn't have to choose, wouldn't have to risk losing their lifestyle. My phone buzzed again. Regina this time. The country club board is meeting today. Fix this immediately. I showed Mark the text. See? Still giving orders, still expecting compliance. He read it and closed his eyes. I'll talk to her. Don't bother. I took the phone back. The board already voted. Their membership is officially revoked. Cassandra emerged from the kitchen with coffee. Want some before you go, Mark? He shook his head. I should check on Mother. She's not handling things well. After he left, Cassandra turned to me. You okay? No. I accepted the coffee. But I will be. What's next? I pulled up my email, showing her the latest message from Sylvia. Regina's trying to rally family allies to sue for misuse of trust funds. But everything's documented, everything's legal. And the foundation. I resigned from the board this morning. Without my contributions, it'll fold within months. I sipped my coffee. They'll have to cancel this year's gala season entirely. Cassandra whistled low. Regina must be losing it. According to Mark, she's not handling things well. I mimicked his tone. My phone lit up with another text. Kendra this time. Please, we can work something out. Mother will apologise. No, Cassandra read over my shoulder. She won't. I typed back. There's nothing to work out. The trust will provide basic living expenses for 3 months. Use that time wisely. You're giving them 3 months? Cassandra raised an eyebrow. My grandmother believed in giving people rope to either climb up or hang themselves with. I put my phone down. Let's see what they do with it. Another text from Mark. I didn't defend you because I feared losing the only world I've known. Now, I might have lost both. I showed Cassandra, who snorted. At least he's finally getting it. Too little, too late, I asked. Way too little, she confirmed. Way too late. I deleted the message without responding. Outside, spring was turning to summer, and I had a classroom of preschoolers waiting to learn about consequences and choices. Some lessons, it seemed, were universal. Mark ended our engagement on a Tuesday. He came to my apartment, engagement ring in hand, looking both defeated and relieved. I can't do this anymore, he said, placing the ring on my coffee table. Not with everything that's happened. I looked at the ring, the one Regina had insisted wasn't prestigious enough when he first proposed. I know. Mother's talking about moving in with Aunt Patricia, the house. He trailed off. Is being sold, I finished. Yes, I know. The trust owns it. He flinched. That's exactly why I can't. This isn't who we are anymore. No, I corrected gently. This is who you always were. You just didn't know it. After he left, I called Sylvia. How's the lawsuit coming along? Regina's lawyer dropped the case this morning. Sylvia sounded amused. Apparently he reviewed the trust documentation and advised her she has no grounds to sue. And the vacation house, listed yesterday, though Regina's claiming it's ancestral property and can't be sold. I laughed. The property they bought 15 years ago with my trust fund is ancestral. She's desperate, Sylvia noted. They all are. Aaron's startup officially filed for bankruptcy this morning. My other line beeped, Regina calling. I ignored it. What about Lionel? I asked. Haven't heard from him since he tried to access the trust accounts directly. The bank shut that down quickly. My doorbell rang. I opened it to find Kendra. Mascara streaked down her face. I'll call you back, I told Sylvia. Kendra pushed past me into the apartment. You have to stop this, please. Stop what? I asked, closing the door. Stop letting you face consequences. Mother's a wreck. Aaron's lost everything. Even Lionel had to sell his car. She collapsed onto my couch. We're your family. No, Kendra, you made it very clear I wasn't family, remember? At my engagement party. That was different. We didn't know that I was rich. I cut her off. So it would have been okay to treat me that way if I really was just a teacher. She fell silent. That's what I thought. I moved toward the kitchen. Would you like some tea while we discuss your new reality? I had to cancel my spa membership, she whispered. Tragic. I put the kettle on. Have you considered getting a job? She looked at me like I'd suggested she sell organs. I've never had to work? Never had to support yourself? I leaned against the counter. Well, now's your chance to learn. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra. You won't believe who I just saw working at Macy's. Before I could respond, Regina burst through my door without knocking. You sold the Hamptons house, she screamed. That house has been in our family for generations. 15 years is hardly generations, I replied calmly. And it was never your house to begin with. Mother, Kendra started, but Regina cut her off. I've lost everything because of you. My reputation, my social standing. No, I interrupted. You lost everything because you couldn't resist humiliating someone you thought was beneath you. How's that working out? Regina's face contorted. I'll tell everyone what you did, how you deceived us. Go ahead. I poured my tea. Tell them how you lived off my trust fund while mocking my career. Tell them how you threw that prenup in my face while spending my money. I'm sure it'll make a fascinating story. You're enjoying this, Kendra accused. Actually, I'm not. I sat down. I'm just watching karma do its job. Regina stepped forward, finger pointed. You little... Careful, I warned. Remember who still controls the trust that's paying for your basic expenses for the next 2 months. She deflated instantly, and in that moment, I saw what my grandmother had always taught me about power. Real power didn't need to shout or threaten. It simply was. Get out, I said quietly. Both of you. Go figure out who you are without my money to hide behind. After they left, I checked Cassandra's text again. Just saw Kendra working the perfume counter at Macy's. Karma is real, I smiled, remembering how Kendra had once said retail work was beneath her. Now she was living that reality. My phone rang again, Sylvia. The Family Foundations Board just had their final meeting. Without your funding, they're dissolving the organisation. Good, I said, sipping my tea. Let Regina learn what it's like to build something without using other people's money. Your grandmother would be proud, Sylvia said softly. She always said you had steel in your spine. I looked at Mark's ring, still sitting on my coffee table. Steel and diamonds, apparently. They just never bothered to look close enough to see either. The scholarship announcement ceremony was small. Just me, Cassandra, Sylvia, and 5 beaming single mothers who could now pursue their teaching degrees. We gathered in my preschool classroom after the kids had gone home. My grandmother always wanted to help other teachers, I explained, handing out the acceptance letters. She believed education was the great equalizer. As the recipients shared their stories and dreams, my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Can we talk, please? I stepped into the hallway to call him. What is it? "I saw the announcement about your scholarship foundation," he said. "Mother saw it too." "And?" She cried. Actually cried. Said it should have been her name on that foundation, her legacy. I watched through the window as one of the scholarship recipients hugged her young daughter. It was never about legacy, Mark. It was about doing something meaningful. "I know that now," he paused. "I'm working at my uncle's accounting firm. Entry level. It's different. Different good. Different real." He took a breath. "I saw Kendra at the mall yesterday. She's actually doing okay at her job. Said it's taught her things." "Like what?" "Like how it feels to earn something instead of just expecting it." Back in the classroom, Cassandra was showing the recipients around, explaining how the preschool worked. Their eyes were bright with possibility. "I have to go, Mark," I said. "Good luck with everything." "Wait," he said quickly. "I'm sorry for all of it, for not being strong enough to stand up for you." "I know." I watched one of the mothers wipe away happy tears. "But you're learning strength now, aren't you?" After hanging up, I rejoined the group. Cassandra nudged me. "Everything okay?" "Getting there," I smiled. "How about you? Still enjoying your promotion?" She grinned. "Lead teacher has a nice ring to it, though not as nice as secret millionaire. Speaking of which," Sylvia approached with some papers. "Regina finally signed the house transfer documents. It's officially on the market. And Aaron, working as a junior analyst at a real investment firm. His boss says he's actually showing promise now that he has to prove himself." One of the scholarship recipients, Sarah, approached us. "Ms. Rose, I just wanted to say, this opportunity means everything. My daughter wants to be a teacher too, now. Call me Cecilia," I said, thinking of my grandmother. "And your daughter's welcome to visit the classroom any time." After everyone left, Cassandra helped me clean up. "You know what's funny? You've done more good with that money in one day than they did in 15 years. "Money's like water," I quoted my grandmother. "It can nurture growth or erode foundations." My phone buzzed again, a news alert. Regina's charity gala had been revived, but on a much smaller scale. The article mentioned she was personally involved in the fundraising. "Well, look at that," Cassandra peered at my phone. "Regina's learning to work for something." "Good for her." I put my phone away. "Ready for dinner? That new cafe opened downtown." "The one where Lionel used to have his reserved table?" Cassandra grinned. "Absolutely. At the cafe, we got a prime window seat. No reservations needed." As we ordered, I spotted Kendra across the street, leaving work in her Macy's uniform. She saw me and, after a moment's hesitation, gave a small wave. I waved back. "They're all finding their way," Cassandra observed, "without the safety net of your money." "Maybe that's the best revenge," I mused, teaching them how to stand on their own feet. Your grandmother would love that twist. Our food arrived, brought by a familiar face. Aaron, working a second job to pay off his startup's debts. He nodded politely and moved on, no trace of his former arrogance. "You know what the best part is?" I said, watching him work. "They're all becoming real people, not just characters in their own fantasy." "And you?" Cassandra asked. "What's next for the secret millionaire?" I thought about the scholarship recipients, about Sarah's daughter wanting to be a teacher, about my grandmother's belief in education and quiet power. "I think," I said slowly, "I'm exactly where I need to be, teaching kids about consequences and kindness, just like always." "They thought they were saving their son from a gold digger," Cassandra laughed. "Turns out they should have taught him how to keep a diamond. Speaking of diamonds," I pulled out Mark's engagement ring, which I'd kept in my purse. "Want to help me pick out a setting? I'm thinking of having it made into a pendant." "Perfect," Cassandra raised her glass. "To turning pain into power." "No," I corrected, thinking of my grandmother's wisdom, of karma's perfect circle, of lessons learned the hard way. To turning power into purpose. Outside, the sun set on another day of small victories and quiet transformations, of fortunes lost and wisdom gained, just the way my grandmother would have wanted it.